The Ohio High School Athletic Association licenses over 16,000 officials in 16 different sports.
OHSAA officials are parents, teachers, police officers, firefighters, homemakers, engineers, and bus drivers.
Officiating gives us a chance to give back and support kids across the state of Ohio.
It's a tough job, but we love what we do.
I'm Leanne Rhymes for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. To some, it's just not country music without hard drinking and fast driving. But real life's not a song, and in less time than it takes to play the latest country hit, someone will be killed or injured in an alcohol-related crash. So next time you're out with someone who's been drinking, don't let them take the wheel. Take the keys instead. That's why friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm former Major League Baseball All-Star Al Oliver. When I played, I tried to make it a simple game, like see the ball, hit the ball. But trust me, sports are not that simple. Try to remember that when you watch an interscholastic athletics contest where everyone is trying their best in a game they all love, so please be courteous and set an example that reflects positively on your school and community. Let's remember, too, respect the game.
Halftime here at Tiger Stadium in Massillon, and our score, it is Trotwood on top of Avon by a count of 28-14. The Trotwood band performing here at halftime. Don't forget, 3 more state championships coming your way here on the OHSAA Radio Network tomorrow. In Division 6, it'll be Buckeye Central taking on Marion Local at 11 a.m. at Fawcett Stadium. At Division 4, it'll be Kenton taking on Norwayne. That'll be at 3 o'clock here in Massillon, and we'll wrap things up tomorrow night in Division 1, Pickerington Central and St. Ignatius. Both teams with 2 losses there in the D1 title game. Trotwood trying to upend Avon here, the number 1 team in the state. Trotwood with a 28-14 lead. Randy Reinhardt and A.J. Trapasso have been handling the games over at Fawcett Stadium, and Randy sat down and talked with Assistant Commissioner Jerry Snodgrass here on the OHSAA Radio Network.
We are joined now by Jerry Snodgrass, Assistant Commissioner of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And Jerry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and thanks for the coverage you give to high school sports.
Well, I want to talk to you about a number of topics. First of all, as the OHSAA's administrator for soccer, this must have been an exciting state tournament to really work on. All 6 games played at Crew Stadium in Columbus. And I also know, very importantly, you set an OHSAA soccer state tournament attendance record, too, did you not?
We did, and actually over the last several years, each year our attendance has grown. We added this is certainly a tribute to soccer in Ohio, but we added a 3rd division in girls soccer for the first time this year. But actually speaking, we broke our attendance record prior to that 3rd game being played of the day. So we had great weather. We had great matchups. We had some of the Friday night in the boys Division 1. We nearly had one side of Crew Stadium filled, and it was just an exciting atmosphere for everybody.
Does it help in this case to have a centrally located world-class facility for the high school kids to play soccer at?
I think it does. You know, it's in a way I wish we could play the Final Four there. We actually only play the championship game at Crew Stadium, but we just can't fit it in. There's no way humanly possible to do that. But when I show pictures of our state tournament at the national level in our summer meeting, people just look at that in awe. 1 of the facility, 2 of the crowds, and just say what an atmosphere that is.
And now your attention is turned to the winter sports, I know, too, which, of course, is basketball for you. And are there any rule changes or points of emphasis when it comes to hoops this year that these schools are going to have to adopt to this season?
Well, you know, interestingly enough, we often say that we think that a sport is in pretty good shape if there are not a lot of rule changes that take place. Henry Zaborniak, we're really blessed in this regard. Henry Zaborniak in our office chairs the National Rules Committee. And when you think about it, that's a pretty powerful position. The rules of the game of basketball across the nation are governed, with Henry as its chair. But there are very, very few rules changes. In fact, most of them just being mechanics changes by the officials themselves. Points of emphasis that have been there, it's a critical part of the National Federation's rules, really typically focus on sportsmanship and rough play aspects of the game. And, many things over the last few years, people have talked often that the game has gotten so rough. Much in the way of points of emphasis are geared toward cutting down on that rough play, cutting down on hand checking on the perimeter. And by and large, I think our coaches do a good job of implementing that into their practice structure.
We're nowhere near a shot clock in high school basketball yet, are we?
We aren't. It comes up every year, comes up on national surveys every year. And right or wrong, probably the number one thing holding it back is the expense of it. And people sometimes forget that it would be such a significant change to the game. For example, when the three-point line came in years ago, it was such a significant change to the game of basketball that you couldn't do it just at the varsity level. You would have to do it at all levels, being such a significant change. So now you're talking about, if you were to implement that, not only the cost of the clock, but you have an operator to deal with. And you would have that operator to deal with down through the freshman, down through the 8th grade, down through the 7th grade. And collegiately, they will tell you through the NCAA that one of the number one issues in the rules area are issues dealing with the shot clock. So we would perpetuate that even more at the high school level. People want it. But I don't see it happening.
And, Jerry, too, I think there'd be more hand-checking at the scorer's table, too. You talked about hand-checking. The scorer's tables are only so big as well.
Well, that's true. And I think, again, people forget that most of those people working those facilities, at the scorer's table, they're volunteers in a lot of cases. Some schools anymore, people won't volunteer anymore. They expect to be paid. So you're talking about a significant expense for a somewhat limited individual that's trained to do it.
And, Jerry, too, speaking of basketball, the tournament trail is an exciting time of year in pretty much every sport, but it takes a lot of coordination and planning, I know, too. What are some of the things fans should keep in mind when the postseason gets underway in terms of brackets, scheduling, and so forth? You're on the clock and you have 90 seconds. Go.
That's good, because I would tell you that number one thing, we are challenged in all of our team tournaments by people thinking that if one school has to drive 30 miles and another drives 35 miles, that it's unfair. And we are challenged with that right now to address that a little bit more. We have to remember that we have schools, come basketball time, that will be playing on 94-foot courts in almost all cases, but they're playing on approved National Federation courts. None of them will be at the home site of the school that's in the tournament. So at that point, it's a pretty neutral, benign thing. So we have to understand that for fans. Most teams should be happy to get to that regional tournament. But again, just a little a primer, I guess, when we get to the regional tournament. People tend to complain a lot more about that.
And finally, too, about football, too. I think the stadiums that we play at now are so vastly improved over what we saw just a decade ago. So many have, prescription turf or the artificial surface that is second to none. We've come a long way from playing in the slop and the mud sometimes to determine a state semifinalist.
We have, and at the same time, we've spoiled people by that, because people think that, a pristine grass field, whether it's soccer or football, you're not allowed to play on that anymore. You're being cheated if you don't. And so to some degree, we've spoiled people with that. But again, I think that is also a tribute to the emphasis and the degree to which schools put school-based athletics.
Jerry, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and thanks for the coverage you give to high school sports.
And let's pause now for these messages from the Ohio High School Athletic Association. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk.
This is Joe Thomas from the Cleveland Browns. This is Chinadum Ndukwe from the Cincinnati Bengals. Take it from me. Take it from me. Nutrient-rich chocolate milk is an ideal beverage to drink after sporting events and practices. Being active and eating healthy are keys to living well. Chocolate milk tastes great. Refuel with chocolate milk. It's a great way to fuel up. Eat healthy, get active, make a difference.
I'm Professor Burke from the University of Farmers, where agents' intellects are focused like laser beams, and this is a pop quiz. True or false? There is no reward for turning 50. The big 5-0. False. By sitting down with a Farmers agent, you can get access to the Farmers 50-plus discount and many others that could save you hundreds on your home insurance. But other than that, it's mostly just slippers and bingo.
We are insurance.
We are Farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Call a Farmers agent to discuss tailoring a policy for your home. Find your local agent at farmers.com.
You're listening to the State Football Championships on the Ohio High School Athletic Association Radio Network.
28-14 in favor of the Trotwood Rams here at halftime. Todd Bell and Justin Zwick with you. And the Trotwood Ram Marching Band finishing up their festivities over on the far side here at halftime. And I'll tell you, it has been quite a first half of action here so far from Massillon. Trotwood down 7-0 in this game after an interception return by Smith, but they've come back. They scored 28 of the next 35 points in this game and lead 28-14. And again, a huge possession at the end of the first half by Avon, Justin, to get it back to 28-14.
Yeah, Trotwood has just really done everything through the ground game today. I mean, Israel Green and Ashton Jackson just have run wild in this first half, and it doesn't look like Avon has an answer for them. I think that they're going to come out and maybe try some different run blitzes or things to give a different look to this offensive line to kind of stop the run a little bit, because that's the only thing that's been hurting them. But getting that touchdown for Avon going into the halftime to make it 28-14 was just huge. Gives them a little momentum. They really hadn't been that bad moving the ball. They were doing good inside, in between the 20s, just didn't find that play to get it into the end zone. And that halftime, or that score right before half, is really going to set them in, give them up momentum into the third quarter. They get the ball first and come out and score right away.
Well, thank you for talking during that entire end of there by Trotwood.
You were getting down over there. I just kind of was going.
I had my swag going. That's about all I got, too. Marathon is proud to be the official fuel service provider of the OHSAA and support high school student athletes across the state of Ohio. Visit marathon.com to plan your next trip. Marathon has over 5,000 locations to serve you. Marathon, fueling the American spirit. I didn't really consult with you on this, but our marathon drive of the first half, I think it's got to be that 95-yard drive, the first score by Trotwood. 8 plays, 95 yards. And as you and I were talking here, it could have been 14-0 Avon. They fumbled the ball at the 5-yard line of Trotwood, and then 95 yards later they scored to make it 7-6, and that started that snowball down the proverbial hill for Avon.
Yeah, Trotwood definitely got lucky with that fumble and needed, they started the game out with a pick 6, then they go out and they fumble on their own 30. And they get the turnover inside their 10. I mean, it was huge for them to put a drive together. I mean, now let's not forget 95 or 60 of those yards were a huge run by Israel Green to get down to the inside the 5.
Right.
But let alone a long drive. Started inside their own 5, and I mean that was huge to get on the board and get some momentum going.
All right, scoring summary, stats, and more thoughts on our first half of action are coming up here from Tiger Stadium as we pause for these messages from your local station. Our score, Trotwood 28 and Avon 14. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk.
Ohio students help create the association's program on sporting behavior. Through the Respect the Game campaign, we are encouraging student athletes, parents, fans, coaches, and officials to do 3 important things. Speak with courtesy, act with dignity, and play or observe with pride.
Bill Hoskett, Ohio State basketball All-American, NBA champion, and Olympic gold medalist on student athletes.
Studies show that students who play school sports tend to have better attendance records, higher grade point averages, fewer discipline problems, and are more likely to pursue a college education. High school sports also teach leadership, character, and provide the foundation for becoming a good citizen. Let's respect the game and remember to always keep student first in student athlete.
A message from the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
This is Archie Griffin, and you're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network.
Halftime score, Trotwood on top of Avon 28-14. Todd Bell and Justin Zwick with you here at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. The Avon Eagle Marching Band coming out onto the field, and let's take a look at some of the statistics in our first half of action, and it's been dominated on the ground so far by Trotwood. 18 first downs in the first half for Trotwood, 350 yards of total offense for the Rams, and 294 on the ground. Israel Green, 21 carries, 229 yards, 4 touchdowns, an average of 11 yards per carry, and a 74-yard electrifying touchdown run in the first half of play. Through the air, Mike Simpson, 6 out of 9 for 56 yards and an interception. Receiving, Trey Mobley has 3 for 13. Mike McCray, 2 for 34. And Bam Bradley has got a catch for 9. On the other side for Avon, 8 first downs. They had 170 yards of total offense, 171 through the air. That means -1 on the ground for an Avon offense that's averaging 174 yards rushing per game. And Ross Douglas has 2 carries for 11 yards. Everything else has been big-time negative yards on the running side for Avon. Through the air, Justin O'Rourke, 9 out of 19 for 171 yards and a touchdown right there at the end of the first half. Big first half for Jacob Mullins, 6 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. Ralph Smith, 2 catches for 29, and Matt Eckert has a catch for 37 on the evening as well. So total offense 350 to 170 here in the first half. Penalties, 4 for Trotwood for 35, 6 penalties against Avon for 35 yards. And again, we had 3 turnovers in the first half. Trotwood turned it over on their first 2 possessions of the game, and still they managed to have a 28-14 lead here at halftime.
Just said a mouthful right there.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about all those numbers for Israel Green.
Yeah.
You know, at halftime of a state championship game, I mean, he definitely came to play today. His offensive line came to play today, opened up a lot of holes and letting him get some momentum going. But all those tackles he's broke, I mean, I'm still replaying that one right here in front of us and in my head. I don't know how he got out of that or how that happened, but just a spectacular play.
I'm not one to question statistics, but does this sound right to you? Time of possession, Trotwood 19 minutes and 4 seconds, Avon 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Could Avon have only had the ball 5 minutes in that first half? I guess it's possible.
Well, they get to score on the pick 6, so it's Trotwood's ball again. They go
short possession when they got it back with a fumble.
They fumble it, and then they go and get the ball right back, and then they go 95 yards. So,
I mean,
that's
how
very
bizarre
possible.
is that?
Yeah.
Huh?
It doesn't feel that way.
And the last time they had it was only 20 seconds.
But the thing we got to remember is they've ran the ball this whole first half. So yeah, I mean they're running the ball. The clock's running, and they've had the ball quite a bit. So I mean, putting 28 points on the board in the first half, running the ball. I mean, they've had a couple of big strikes, but for the most part, they've ate that clock up. It just doesn't feel like it.
No, yeah. Ralph Smith, 65-yard interception return to open up the game. It's 7-0 in favor of Avon. And then the Israel Green show starts. A 1-yard touchdown run, a 74-yard touchdown run, another 1-yard touchdown run, a couple of missed point afters and a 2-point conversion in there. And it's 20-7 Trotwood with 31 seconds to go. And then Jacob Mullins catches that 17-yard touchdown pass with 11 seconds to go in the first half to make it 28-14, and that is where we sit here at halftime. All right, we'll take another timeout. We'll come back. Kind of talk about the games earlier today and the games coming up tomorrow here on the OHSAA Radio Network. It is 28-14 in favor of Trotwood as Avon finishes up their halftime presentation. Back after this on the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk.
Proud to stand on our own, proud to be homegrown, a familiar face and a name you know. Come on, we know you, we know your needs, we know what being a neighbor means. Can you hear it? Fueling the American spirit. No matter when, no matter where, Marathon will take you there.
Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
College football's only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, Ohio State's Archie Griffin, on the value of high school sports.
I was determined to succeed on the football field, but it's the life lessons that athletics taught me that will last forever. That began in high school when I learned the importance of discipline, teamwork, sacrifice, and responsibility. Those values stay with student athletes long after their playing days are over. Remember, the Ohio High School Athletic Association and Interscholastic Athletics seek to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life. At that, we can all be winners.
A message from the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
You're listening to the State Football Championships on the Ohio High School Athletic Association Radio Network.
This broadcast is a presentation of the Ohio High School Athletic Association radio network. Any commercial use, retransmission, or distribution without the express written consent of the OHSAA is strictly prohibited. The announcers on this game were selected by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. For more information, log on to the OHSAA radio network section at www.ohsaa.org. 28-14, Trotwood on top here at halftime. Earlier this morning, the Division V state championship took place here at Tiger Stadium, and it was Kirtland winning their first state championship as they defeated Coldwater by the score of 28-7. Christian Haber, 30 carries for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. He played the entire second half on a bad left wheel. Damon Washington, 18 carries for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their quarterback, Scott Eilerman, 8 carries, 62 yards. He was 1 for 4 passing for 11 yards, and they beat Coldwater. The Cavaliers now have lost 3 consecutive state championship games, twice to Ursuline and now to Kirtland, who was continually getting bounced in the tournament by the Fighting Irish. And Justin, this morning, Kirtland said, we're going to run it right down your throat, and for about 95% of the game they did.
Yeah, they had 2 backs with whatever 3,000 yards rushing, and they leaned on them the entire game, and Coldwater could just really never get anything going as far as putting points on the board. And I mean, Kirtland played a great game. They came in, did what they had to do, took control of the clock, put up some points, and they go home with their first state championship.
And that was a game that combined, we had 740 yards of total offense. Kirtland had 421. Austin Bruns was 18 of 34 passing for 249 yards in that game. Over at Fawcett Stadium this afternoon, Cardinal Mooney won their 9th state championship, this time in Division III. They defeated Shawnee 21-14. The Braves had a chance late. They were moving against Cardinal Mooney, but fell short. And the Cardinals come up with a win, 21-14. Roosevelt Griffin finished with 21 carries and 119 yards. P.J. Quinn, they did throw 13 times, did Cardinal Mooney. They were 5 out of 13 for 52 yards. Ryan Farger had 4 catches for 39. On the other side, the quarterback for Shawnee, Brad Jarzib, had a huge day today. He had 122 yards passing and 139 yards rushing. He rushed for 2 touchdowns, but not enough as Shawnee loses. They outgained Cardinal Mooney today, 318 to 272 in total offense. But the Cardinals come out on top, and P.J. Fecco, that machine over there for Cardinal Mooney, they just continue to roll along.
Yeah, it's impressive to see what they've done here. I mean, in the last 10 years or so, every year it just seems like they have guys going to Division I and going to state championship games and winning them. I mean, their 9th one. That's pretty impressive for anybody. But to be outgained, that's kind of surprising. The numbers on that, still come away with a win, though, and that's all that matters here in December.
So those are the 2 games that have already been completed. Here at halftime, it is 28-14 Trotwood. We'll set the stage for tomorrow's action, but first let's allow our stations to locally identify themselves. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk. Locally identify themselves? When you're listening to you'll hear the station call letters and town that they're in. Todd Bell and Justin Zwick with you. Halftime here in Massillon, Division II, 28-14. Trotwood on top. Tomorrow morning, it'll be the Division VI state championship game. Buckeye Central, 12-2 on the season. The Bucks in their 2nd state final appearance. They'll be taking on Marion Local in their 6th state final appearance. They got 4 state championships, and the Flyers representing the Midwest Athletic Conference now with trying to win a title for the MAC after Coldwater fell short today.
Yeah, there's another team. I mean, it just seems like year in and year out we hear these teams playing in these championship games. I mean, you said they had 4 already. You know, they've been here, done that, and I'm sure be looking to get another one tomorrow.
Looking forward to the Division IV state championship game. It'll involve Mr. Football and Matty Mock, as the Wildcats are 14-0 on the season. They are in their 4th state championship game. They came away with 2 state championships earlier, with quarterback Ben Mock winning one of those titles. And Ben was a Mr. Football. Now his older brother Matty is a Mr. Football, the first brother combination. They'll be taking on Norwayne tomorrow. The Bobcats are 13-1 21 on the season in their first ever state final appearance, and that should be relatively entertaining tomorrow. Both of these teams are averaging a boatload of points. The Kenton averaging 46 points per ball game, and again, it'll be one pass after another and a little backyard football style of football coming out of Kenton tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this game. You know, Matty Mock's put up a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. And
have you seen Mock play?
I haven't seen him play. No, I think I've seen his brother play once back in the day, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I know North Wayne, coming out of Wayne County, that's my old stomping grounds. They're excited to be here, and you know, they can throw the ball around too a little bit. So we'll see how this game goes tomorrow. And
it should be relatively interesting again just to see all of the balls going in the air for Kenton. And you know, they don't quite play the old style that they used to, where they would go for it every time. They wouldn't punt, didn't matter where they were on the field. They'd kick onside kicks. They still go for two every time. They don't have a place kicker on their football team. It is a unique style of football, and it's not always successful, but
not always. But when you got the right guy back there, as signal caller, you know, they can be good.
Tomorrow night in Division I, Old Staple Cleveland St. Ignatius. Although it's been a few years since they've been in a state championship game, they'll be making their 12th appearance. And what's impressive of that, 11 times to the state title game, 10 times they have come away champions. An all-time tournament record of 60-12 in their state tournament appearances. Ignatius at 12-2 will take on Pickerington Central, making their second ever state final appearance, first in Division I. They were in it in 2006 when they lost to Piqua, and they're 11-2 on the season, and they've got a defense right now that is second to none in the state of Ohio. They are just shutting down offense after offense after offense in the postseason, and I mean, they've allowed 3 points in the first quarter of games going into last week. They finally gave up a touchdown. That's the only touchdown they've allowed all season in the first quarter was to St. X last week, and then that was it. That was all they allowed for the entire game.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, it's good to see, being a Columbus guy now, it's good to see a Columbus school coming up here and, you know, battling for that Division I crown. Ignatius is always a tough team. They have a great program. Coach Kyle does a great job there, and I know both teams will be ready to play tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one.
So that's what will be going on tomorrow. That'll be at 7 o'clock. All games right here on the OHSAA radio network. And again, Randy Reinhardt, AJ Trapasso will get things kicked off. 10:45 pregame tomorrow at Fawcett Stadium here at 3, and then back over to Fawcett at 7 o'clock. And it looks like it's going to just be a phenomenal day for December 3rd tomorrow. They're talking about upper 40s, right around 50 degrees for the activities tomorrow. So if you're out there listening around the Buckeye State, you want to see some great football, travel to Stark County and take in these games tomorrow. It should be a fun day of football. We've had a good day so far. We've had 2 good games, and well, let's get set for the second half. Both teams heading to the sidelines. 28-14, Trotwood on top. How important is this next possession for Avon as they will get the football to start half number 2?
I think it's very important. I mean, it's silly to say, but if they can go down and score here, I mean, it changes the game in my opinion. And you know, they just get that confidence still, you know, that confidence is still going to grow and grow and grow. Go down and get a score, 28-21. They're in this ball game. And then they got to just figure out how to stop that run game with Trotwood-Madison, which, you know, we'll see if they drew anything up at halftime to maybe slow that run down a little bit.
I mean, that's got to be the biggest adjustment, right? I mean, you can't allow 300 yards of total offense in the first half, right?
No, yeah, that.
All right, so I'm sorry. So 300 rushing in the first half.
300 rushing.
Yeah, correct that.
4 touchdowns by one guy. I would imagine that defense got quite a talking to in the locker room, and you know, switching things around a little bit, trying something different coming out this second half to see if they can slow him down. They're not going to shut him down. He's too good of a back, both of them. You know, they're too good of backs to stop them completely, but you slow them down and get a couple 3-and-outs here and there, and it's only going to help